السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا بكم جميعا في اللقاءات الرقمية للألعاب الإلكترونية، إحدى برامج مبادرة ثينك بالشراكة مع الاتحاد السعودي للرياضات الذهنية والإلكترونية في موسم لاعبون بلا حدود. في البداية أحب أعرفكم عن نفسي. العنود شويعر، مدير عام الإدارة العامة للمعرفة الرقمية في وزارة الاتصالات وتقنية المعلومات. مبادرة ثينك هي مظلة لمشاريع توعوية استراتيجية على مستوى المملكة العربية السعودية، تم إطلاقها من قبل وزارة الاتصالات وتقنية المعلومات عام 2018، وتتعاون في نسختها الخاصة بالألعاب مع مبادرة لاعبون بلا حدود لاستشراف المستجدات في عالم الألعاب الإلكترونية ومستقبلها ونشر المعرفة للمجتمع بهذه الرياضة الحديثة، واستقطاب جميع المهتمين فيها والوصول بالمملكة العربية السعودية لطليعة الدول المبتكرة بمجال الألعاب الإلكترونية وتحقيق أهداف رؤية 2030. نتحدث اليوم عن موضوع مهم، وهو دور صناعة الألعاب والرياضات الإلكترونية في تطور الاقتصاد المحلي والعالمي. نرحب بكم ونترككم مع مقدم هذا اللقاء الأستاذ باسم المحمدي، وضيوفنا الأستاذ تركي الفوزان والأستاذة سارة الصالح والأستاذ ديفيد نيتشل. أهلا بكم جميعا. تفضل أخوي باسم.
باسم يبدو لي انك ميوت.
شكرا عنود، يعطيك العافية. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. This is Bاسم المحمدي, the Chief Operation Officer in RAS Group. I'll be the moderator of tonight's meetup, inshallah. First of all, before we start welcoming everyone here, I would like just to mention for our viewers that anyone has a question, please just write that question in the chat and make sure you add the question mark at the end so we know it is a question, it's not just something to add. And we will read all the questions at the Q&A session at the end of this meetup, inshallah. We'll start with introducing Turki Al-Fawzan, the Chief Executive Officer of both the Saudi Esport Federation and the Arab Esport Federation. Under his guidance, the Federation has moved from one accomplishment to the next. Today, the Federation's fast-growing team works to develop the entire esport value chain, starting at the grassroots and all the way up to elite athletes and global competitions. Welcome, Turkey. Second, we have Mr. David Neichel, former CEO, ESL Gaming, world largest esport company, in charge now of strategic business development and international growth. 18 years experience in gaming industry, in particular at Electronic Art and Activision Blizzard in several geographies. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
Also, we have Sara, and she's a venture capital investor at STV. She held product and analytics roles. Before that, at a regional data startup, as well as data miner in New York. Sara has a master's degree in policy from Stanford University. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you, Bاسم.
Okay, with no further ado, we'll start our topics tonight. First, we'll start with looking at the ways or opportunities to invest in the gaming industry. Sara, we'll start with you. Please.
Yes, thank you, Bاسm. First of all, I want to extend my gratitude and thanks to the team, the Think Tech team, you, Bاسm, and Anud for organizing this. It's a great topic. It's a very important topic, and I'm happy that we're shedding light on it. So I'll kickstart the conversation. So the question is, why would we invest in gaming, right? And if that's the case, how would we invest in gaming? The way that I thought of it is I broke it down into three main points. So the first one is why invest in gaming. The second topic is what are the areas or what are the spaces that we can invest in for gaming? And then the third area is what are the vehicles that make sense for gaming developers? I'm really hoping that there are a couple of gamers or developers in the audience that can benefit from this. But basically, when I was looking at the space, what shocked me was if you look at the number of gamers in the region, MENA and Turkey, I think we make up approximately 14% of total gamers worldwide. And then if you compare that to the revenue that's generated from the region, it's approximately 4%. So this gap and this dichotomy is insane. And for me, this is just highlighting the opportunity that number one, we need to really work on building the infrastructure for gaming. And number two, we need to make sure that this revenue is captured by local players. Which brings me into the second point: who is taking this revenue and who are the players today, and where can we invest? So today, the majority of this revenue, the 4% of global gaming revenue coming from the region, is basically going to companies that are abroad serving the region. And I think that's great, right? Because it's highlighting the region as a place where companies can look at and so on. But at the same time, it's giving us an opportunity to say, well, how can we further develop the ecosystem to make sure that our youngest and brightest gamers can grow to develop into industry makers for the region. So this is in terms of like, why would we even think about investments in gaming? Now, the second topic is, what are the areas, right? So there are developers, which is basically developing a game from scratch. There are publishers, which basically means you take a company and or a game and you basically work on marketing and the content and so on. And then now I'm really happy David is on the call, and Turkey as well, because you guys can teach us about esports and what's happening there in the region. Esports has been growing like crazy. There's a lot of interesting business models. There's a lot of interesting dynamics. Growth is insane. So that's one area that can also be ripe for investments. And then finally, one area that I'm very, very interested in, and I'm constantly looking for either people working in the space or companies serving the space, is basically the infrastructure of gaming. So things like payment for gaming, community management for gaming, even managing bandwidth and network for gaming. So this is the second answer on where can we invest. And then finally, and I guess this is where I can weigh in with my investor hat, if you're a developer, if you're someone who's building for the gaming industry, who do you go to and who do you talk to get money, right? So you can't grow a business without financing. In gaming in particular, I think that could or could not be the case. So I've seen multiple cases where a gaming founder bootstrapped their way into a liquidity event, or bootstrapped their way into a very healthy and economically viable company. And I've seen things where someone pursued VC investments. So the answer here is complex. I can't answer it within the context of my maybe like 2 or 3 minutes for this question, but I guess my main takeaway, or if I were to say one thing for people who are building for the space, is think about the business model you're developing and the right type of financing that works for it.
Yeah, that was great, actually. Especially we have David also is focusing on this, particularly nowadays, growing this kind of business. So please, what do you think about that, David?
I'm still on mute now. It's gone. So
that's good.
So first of all, thank you very much for having me. I'm very glad to be here, and Baasim and ThinkTech team. Thank you again. Yeah, so I think Sarah really nailed it down. You have almost everything in the answer. So maybe I will just look at few additions. So I think the real point is that indeed, the whole region, or if you look at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you have a lot of gamers, which is what is needed for the whole industry to develop. Maybe the difference with North America or Europe or Western Europe is that, it started a bit later, but, the population is very young. They don't play the game of 25, 30 years ago. They play the game of 10 years ago and nowadays, but who cares, So today, all the kids across the world, they play the same games. So that's a big trend we are seeing between, you can be in South America, you can be in Africa, you can be in Asia. They all play Fortnite. They all play the same games. So that's a big change before versus what we had 2 decades ago. So I think that's the first thing. And for me, that's very important, because having such a lot of players, of course, the money is going outside right now, because all the gaming companies are based outside. But I think this is the first start. And then, of course, the other thing that are needed, I think, is entrepreneurs, skills. So having some talent, in the region, who also know exactly the skills that are needed to develop games, to develop that. And I agree also very much with Sarah about that there is a lot of things in the ecosystem of gaming that can be useful. If we think about localization, test, if we think about video production, if we think about streaming, if we think about, and there's tons of jobs that are also going around the gaming world where it's also easy to start. Of course, what would really help is to have some big companies coming and starting also the business or starting from the ground. It's of course possible. This is something I can say, you know, we see in a lot of today, the gaming industry is very much developed in places where people consume it, and very much in very developed countries. So you don't have a lot of production with countries where only it's cheap labor. Yeah. So this is an industry where you need great sales, you need brains, you need people who know what they are talking about, and this is highly qualified, either tech or artistic. Let's not forget today in studios, the majority of talent are people who are more on artistic designs. And this is also very good because we see also a lot more women coming to the industry, which is also very important, as you know, everyone plays. And so that's I think is indeed, you know, something that could completely work very well in the region and especially in the kingdom.
Yes, true. And you mentioned one thing, which is the beauty of the esport and the video gaming. It's all over the world. So your team could be in different places in the world, playing at the same time together. So for me, this is a unique industry because it's unified the whole world together. Despite age, gender, nationality, everything. So the whole people will come together and play. And I believe Turkey has a lot to add on this because of he's leading this movement today here in country with his background.
Thank you, Basim. It's difficult to add on what just Sarah and David mentioned. Just if may I would like to zoom out a bit and look at the industry and how big the industry basically. Basim, today, maybe it's very difficult to feel how mass is this industry, because most of the players, most of the gamers, they are kids, teenagers, and most of the transactions are microtransaction. But it's happening a lot, and it's happening all over the world. This is, when it's come to how big is the industry, it's really big. The second question, which is really important to make any investment decision, the growth of the industry. It's growing every year with a double digit, okay? Oh. When it's to the number of players, number of, economics, revenues, everything, it's a double digit industry, and it's growing rapidly. If we get back to your question and zoom in and the esports side, there is, again, I'll zoom out. There is international debate about the esport and is it a sport or not sport? Mm-hmm. And the Kingdom of Saudi, we end the debate by establishing the federation. Now there is official body representing the gamers in esport. And what's happening now, or what's the Saudi Esports Federation doing right now, it's all just a quick wins. We believe that we are just in the beginning of a great, story. The talent, and looking at the whole value chain and the ecosystem, and the talents, gamers, teams, the whole value chain, there is a big demand. And basically the old mindset where, gamers just, enjoying and wasting their time. Now, no, it's a professional, it's a career, it's a one-kind opportunity. So this is, the look out at the esport industry. When it's come to the investment, and all these numbers will be reflected in the investment. Now, the teams are companies, and the valuation of these companies with a triple digit, millions. So a lot of things happening and growing, and there is so many ways to enter this market as a gaming / esport to invest, and how to invest.
Amazing. Mentioning that we have like 70% of the population below 30, and most of them, as you say, they are micro transaction little gamers playing. If we focus on this and looking at the scarcity of the companies, or like focusing on the gaming industry itself in the Middle East region, why do you think we still behind a little bit? Why we didn't start this earlier? What do you think, David?
Well, you mean for the? It's difficult to say. I think first of all, it started a bit later because I think the practice of video games started later.
Yeah.
I think the second point, especially in the kingdom, is that gaming is also a social thing. So you need to go to a place. You have the whole story of LAN cafes in South Korea where esports really started, or in Europe, the way the company like ESL started was to organize LAN parties, to make sure that people could play together, because in the past, the console, you played alone in your home. And I think the main point is that gaming is a social thing. A lot of people saying that, gamers spend their time in front of their screen and they are alone is completely wrong. All the games is always about playing with others. It's a social thing. And we are social animals also, as we know, as human being. So that is very, very important. So I think now you can feel that it's really catching up, because the youth in the Middle East, they have more opportunities to have to get together, to play, to train. So I think that will really bring things together.
That's great, yeah.
Yes. The other thing, I think this is very interesting. You have a lot of places in the world where sometimes you have a lot of consumption and no big production. So
exactly.
We had that in Germany, for example, or we had that in different places, and sometimes it also takes just one big company that is starting everything. If you look very well, the production of gaming, I have a few examples. Finland, for example, you have the home of Supercell and the home of Rovio. Yeah, and this is coming from Nokia, because you had this very big company, Nokia, doing mobile phone, and now the mobile games are there because it started to create everything. In my country, for example, in France, you had Thomson that gave birth to a lot of previous people from Thomson Electronic. They moved to Infogram, then Ubisoft, and hope you have a story. If you look at, so there's a lot of examples like that, where you have suddenly, like Microsoft, for example, Seattle. In Seattle, you have Valve, you have Bungie, you have a lot of big studio, and very often these are former employees from Microsoft who, created this thing. So I think it takes also one big company, at some point that is establishing, and it will also probably spark, the light to accelerate everything. But what matters is that all the conditions are here, I think, a lot of people know about games. Almost everyone plays video games, whatever, as you mentioned, age, gender, everyone is playing. People are well qualified. So it's just about bringing things together so that it's getting started. Just my point.
Great. And what do you think, Sarah, about this? As long as we have the community, which is the main element in this industry, we have the gamers, the players, most of the infrastructure is available now in Saudi and the Middle East. Why is still not much companies focusing or working on this right now, or investing, I would say?
Very good. So one thing that came to mind while David was talking is, I look at it from a behavior perspective, right? So if you think about the statistics and the typical Saudi gamer, a lot of them are actually mobile gamers, right? And then if you compare that to the developed countries, for example, China, maybe not China because I believe consoles are banned there, but like Korea, Finland, and so on, you'll see a higher proportion of console and PC games. And then even if you compare the behavioral side where you compare how the Saudi gamer plays versus the German or the Finnish gamer plays, Saudi gamers tend to like puzzles, and they tend to like games that are filling time. And I think it's only a matter of time, right? Like we just as just as how we basically leapt from not having massive technological infrastructure to having 2 mobile phones per person, I think we're gonna eventually also leap from not having the right or a lot of gaming companies from the region servicing our gamers to a place where I don't know if it's going to be gaming companies on mobile, or we're going to be a lot more accepting and a lot more adopting to PC and console. But I think there is going to be a middle ground where gamers from the region are going to realize what's needed for the region, and they're going to build for that region bottoms up.
That's wonderful. Turkey, maybe if we start with answering or looking at the vision of 2030 today and how this industry, I know you have a lot to add on this one. How can this industry first contribute to this vision? I know there is a lot of initiatives regarding video games and esports and in the Vision 2030, and also how this is a great environment to the companies to start and invest today in the country.
Well, this is a big question, so I'll do my best to answer it in a few minutes. Looking at the big picture, the industry, the vision, and the region, you know, the movement with the Vision 2030, basically it's moving so many industries, and gaming is one of them. First of all, I believe that investment is a reaction, it's not an action. Whenever there is a healthy environment, it will be attractive for investors, even entrepreneurs. If there is a lot of bureaucracy challenges, you know, investors and entrepreneurs, they will not waste their time by you know, solving the bureaucracy issue, but they will focus on their core business. So this is one thing, and what's happening with the Vision 2030, I'll give some examples. Now, what's happening with the gaming, you know, and esports industry as a quick wins, as I just mentioned, it's not a success of the federation. The federation is playing a part of a greater, you know, harmony and dynamic between the different entities within the government. For example, when it's come to the within gaming, one of the important pillars is latency and you know, the connectivity within the internet. There is initiative from the CITC to focus on solving this issue. Globally, most of the games, the competitive games, are unplayable if the ping is, you know, more than X number.
Yes, true.
Yet we found Saudi players, they play and they compete in a very good you know, capacity. So we came up with an initiative called Game Mode. Basically, it's gamifying the competition between all telecos to enhance the experience for the gamers. Okay, and by that we can increase the talents of all the gamers. And this is just one element. So always when it's come to you know, the government, it's just our mandate is to have a very friendly environment, and you have purchasing power, you have a demand, you have a traffic, you have all the success element. So the private sector will jump and will compete faster than anyone can imagine to take just part of the cake. All the initiatives that we're working on, just to make a case. When it's come to the gaming, another topic, you know, the entry barrier is really high. There is a AAA companies, it's over $1 billion, you know, US dollar valuation. It's very difficult to compete with. Okay, mm-hmm. They have a legacy, they have a market share, it's a huge market share. So, and in the same time, you can develop a game with less than 100, US dollar through any gaming. So it's, this industry, it's, it's complicated and it's easy in the same time. Okay, you can enter easily, but it's a very long, way down the line. So you will have a competitors with zero capital, and you will have a AAA games they are competing with you. So you have to have a clear strategy about how you want to enter this market, what is your target, what is your exit, and maybe Sarah will talk about the exit more. But this is the idea, and now as we speak, the GDP contribution in the gaming industry is 0.000 something. Okay, basically it's not even, no one can count it because it's nothing. And we think we can achieve 0.8% by 2030. Wow. Maybe it sounds not that much, but anyone knows about how big the Saudi economy and the GDP will understand that this is a massive number. So how we can reach the 0.8%, definitely we have to solve all the challenges which the private sector facing. We have to create a friendly environment, and they will come to invest and to take the lead in this, basically. And definitely what David mentioned about the talents, the education pillar is really important, and the economic circle for these things, even with the classical industries, like for example the hospitals. If you don't have enough doctor and major, you have to make a decision. You will find the result within 15-20 years. It's similar within any other industry. We have lack of talents. We can have these talents by two options: either partnering with the big studios, big companies, and also we have to invest in the education and in the industry itself.
Great. As a federation, what plans do you have, like to stimulate or intensify other international companies and investors to come and invest in Saudi? Is there any campaigns or plans to grab more attention to the country?
Well, in the federation, we have three main pillars, Bاسم. We have players, community, and industry. And whatever we do, we make sure that it's a win-win-win for the gamers, the community, and the industry as well. So when it's come to the gamers, the players pillar, it's basically about how to create talents, professional, elite players, and so on, and also enhance the experience of the players as well, like what I just mentioned, the connectivity, latency. This is within the industry, but it's also click the player as well. When it's come to the community, we're talking about a bigger ecosystem and value chain where we have the hosts, audience, viewership, even with the team, we have teams, we have managers, we have coaches, we have so many things. So we have to enhance all these pillars, okay? All these, talents, we have to have the best talents as well. When it's come to the players, our aim is to create, the best in class globally, ecosystem where a lot of players, they can just shine, okay, within our platforms. When it's come to the industry, the third pillars, that as I just mentioned, we have to have a very friendly ecosystem where any investor, any private sector, they just can come and I cannot mention and just name the the list of what type of investment and opportunity within the value chain. It's just big, very big.
Yes,
But there is demand, there is purchasing power, there is traffic, okay, and there is no competition yet. So it's a golden opportunity to invest in this area. We believe that, and with the movement we're doing right now, we believe all these are just quick wins and the strategic achievements yet to come.
Perfect. Sarah, from investment point of view, what do you think that would encourage global investors to come and invest in certain area, like certain country, in a certain industry?
I'll focus on gaming because if we open
it
it
is,
up,
and yeah, I want to complete that, especially gaming, which is we're talking about today.
I'll mention an anecdote. I was actually at a conference, a gaming conference, both for investors and for gaming entrepreneurs. And one investor came up to me when he realized I was Saudi, and he said, "I can't wait to invest in Saudi founders because, in the industry globally, it's identified, at least Saudi specifically, as probably one of the most promising countries, specifically because you have, if you look at ARPU, it's incredibly high. If you have attention span, it's there, and if you have digital penetration, it's also there. So all the ingredients for a healthy gaming economy is there. It's just getting there. So to answer your question, what do we need to do? I think just continue to spread awareness and continue to support our founders and continue to invest in building this infrastructure. And I have no doubt that international interest will come.
Perfect. David, back to you. With your great experience in video games industry, what do you think the roadmap would be for the international community to participate here? And if there is any listener that you may recall that, people would be, it's part of their education, so they won't do that mistakes again.
But at least maybe I can also start with an anecdote because ESL, we just invested in Saudi. We just opened in January ESL Arabia, which is our regional hub for the whole Middle East and North African region out of Riyadh. So this is happening. I think we are one of the first gaming or esport company to open a big regional hub here, and I hope there will be more. I think there will be more. So I think the question is always, where do you start? How do you start? I think we all know that I can completely concur. I think all the ingredients are here. I guess, also working in gaming industry before, I could see, the revenue that we are generating in the region, in the whole, and also in the kingdom. It's quite, the ARPU is here. Indeed, the people are playing, they are very engaged. So it's just a matter of having the right entrepreneurs, having also the right investment coming from outside, from inside, to have the whole ecosystem starting. I believe that esport is the right way to start. I'm sure Turkey will agree with me because actually this is very simple. Esport is faster because this is about the practice of gaming. So, and if developing a game takes years. It's like it's more than a movie actually. So you start building something, and 3 years later if you were successful. While in esport, you can have, I would say, after 12 months, 18 months, you can have top athletes, if you have created the right ecosystem and structure. So yeah, we believe it's interesting. And Vision 2030 is very positive for companies to come, because I think this is quite unique in the world, that there is such an organized vision in a very organized way. I think, Turkey mentioned that, but for us, the fact that there are mega projects, like Kidia, Neom, or other, that they are also infrastructure work, from DMCIT and different initiatives, that there are also some other initiatives, like MISC, etc. They all go in the same direction. So it means there is a very organized, and the federation, of course, has a big role. So,
of course.
So the fact that, normally you end up in a jungle, here you end up in something, this is a kind of a fast track. So this is still private sector. I think this is still, the private initiative to drive it. But between, the public investment fund, the different initiatives, etc., you can feel that there is an organized framework, which maybe will save a lot of time. So I think I would say the conditions are quite optimal. And this is very much unknown. I think a lot of people I'm talking to, they don't understand that it's ready now. But actually it is. So I can't wait. This is why I think for us coming here, starting to have big studio facilities, e-sport events, etc., is important. We'll start to create the jobs, create the skills, create also the knowledge. We'll start also to empower the local teams and players, and the federation does a fantastic job to help them, but also to shine on the world stage or the regional stage, etc. But also we will be able to make the kingdom as at the center of the map for the e-sport. So our company, we started doing 7 years ago in Katowice. That's the 14th city in Poland. It was a mining city, still is, but IEM over there. Now we have like a big studio with more than 100 people and something like 200, 300 freelancers. So a lot of the city is living for esport, and you have the biggest event in the world every year in February, and every gamer know what is Katowice. So that I think is absolutely possible to do here. Here it's not mining, it's other industries, but this is the new industry for the future. Also for the community, has a lot of influence. It's something also, it's the next Hollywood, so it's the next sport.
That's true.
It's the next sport. So today you will not invest in movie theater. You will not you will not invest in things from the 20th century. You will invest in the industry for the 21st century. We are the new sport, that's where a new generation can shine also. And this is also the new entertainment, interactive, social. People play together with their friends. We saw that with Corona, it's very powerful for the entire world, actually. So that is, I think, there is a huge opportunity, and it's good to see that there is a big vision attached to it. So that Vision 2030 takes very seriously gaming and esports. I think that's good to see. And it
is an ecosystem by itself. True. Yes. And that's what we're gonna see soon. Okay, before we go to the Q&A session, if there is any last word someone want to add today to finalize or summarize this important session, then we can move to the Q&A. Who would like to start? Or should I pick?
I'll be the last, but if no one, I'll happily.
Sara wanted to say something, I believe. Go ahead.
No, I think Basim, you and I talked about a question that I thought was very interesting. I think Turkey can provide a little bit of light on this. But if I put on my policy hat, the thing that also excites me the most about gaming is that there's definitely like a hard power element where you create jobs and you make revenue and so on. But I think what's also really interesting, and it doesn't get talked about much, but is equally as important, is the soft power that comes with gaming, right? So you get to shape generations with gaming. You get to create content that educates. You get to create content that advances their cognitive capabilities, the kids' cognitive capabilities. So I think that you can't measure it, like it's not X% of the GDP, but it's definitely very, very important. And I think it will reward the country massively on the long term.
Wonderful, that's true. David, as long as Turkey calls the last one to talk, so it's your turn if you want to add something.
No, I think I covered already a lot of things. If there is any question and answer, but just to say that we are very glad to come to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and I'm just can't wait. I met already a lot of people. We can't wait to see more of the young entrepreneurs, of the investors, of the players, of the gamers. It's a very good community around. And if we can help to contribute to make the whole ecosystem starting, I would be more than happy.
Great, thank you so much. back to you, Turkey.
Yeah, thank you, Basa. I would like to just say that I am confident and very positive about the future of the gaming esports industry within the Saudi market. I think yes, we didn't start and we didn't see any serious company investing in this area, but from now to 2030, I'm very positive that we will find big companies. We will find this as a matured industry within the region, with a GDP contribution, with a job creation, with all of these. And you can quote me on this.
Perfect.
And we'll see in 2030.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for adding a great, putting together a great meetup here. It was very informative. Actually, we learned a lot. We know a lot is coming. Some of them are revealed already. Some of them still undercooking, and we will hear about them soon, as I know from my, secret sources. But inshallah, we'll see a new generation that leading then this industry. The beauty of this industry, as we said, it's one nation. It's not without borders, which is really without borders. I will go now to the Q&A, and one of the questions I saw that I've always been asked this, as well as also involved in the e-sport and video games. Is it a sport or not? I would say yes, it is a sport. We have the federation. If you want to talk about the gamers, maybe I know they have more than 300 reflection per minute sometimes. Their heartbeat reached to 150, and it is a sport, and it's been mentioned already. There is a question here which says, for local game developers, how can we get financial support either from government or VCs? Maybe Turkey and Sarah can add on this. Starting with you, Sarah.
Awesome. Yeah, so Fahad Al-Malik asked this question. He's in the right place. So you have government here and you have...
yeah, exactly.
So you know who to talk to. But again, I have to reiterate what I mentioned in the beginning. It really depends on the business model. It depends on what they're trying to accomplish. And then there's plenty of resources online that break down what kind of financial support each business model is best suited for. So I hope this answers the question. If not, I'm happy to share links.
So it's like a typical startup with the like typical business canvas, I would say, with a business plan and financial plan.
Yeah, if that's the case, then maybe that could potentially be so I'll divide it into two. If it's a startup that's growing fast and there's still there are question marks on the type of the business model, then definitely go to VC. But if you're a developer or a publisher that's building a game and it already has recurring revenue, then by all means, maybe getting a loan makes a lot more sense because you have some sort of track record and you can build on that. So again, there's no clear answer. I think it's for the best. Each entrepreneur has to understand their trajectory and what they want out of the company before pursuing the type of financing.
Okay, and the government point of view.
Yeah, and also there is a fund under establishment under the NDF, the National Development Fund. We are studying now an opportunity to how to invest, the how to support and enable the industry and have access to the right tools to enhance and accelerate this industry, basically by having a fund with different products within it.
Okay, great. It says here a question for Sarah, maybe. Okay, for an up and coming sector like this in Saudi Arabia, VCs may feel a bit reluctant to invest in its startup. Well, what you need to see, I think it's already been answered, but let's continue the question. What do you want to see from the startup before you are receptive to the idea of giving them a chance, MVP only, a well-thought business plan, track record of sales? And I think you just answered that.
Yeah, so a part of it is what I answered, and the other part of it is if you decide that venture capital is the right model for you or the right investor for you, then understand the stage. So like if you are pre-product, then maybe an angel is a better fit. If you have some sort of traction, then maybe this is when you reach out to a seed stage investor or a very early stage investor. If you have a track record of maybe like 6 months to a year, then maybe a later stage investor would be a fit, just because you want to save your time and the investor's time, and each investor has specific criteria.
Well, amazing answer. Thank you, Sarah. Another question says, could we see soon EA company department in Saudi Arabia?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's their call. It's their call. We are welcoming all the international and big players, not only in the gaming, in all different industries, and EA one of them, definitely.
Perfect. There's a question here says that all of us know how to play games, but is there any disadvantages on the like player gamers or teenagers from who play for a long time? Is that gonna impact them negatively? So maybe David will
so
give an advice or at least describe the life of the gamer. And
I understand two sides of the question. I think the first one is, is it bad if you play too much? So it's like everything in life,
true.
You need to have what we call, a sustainable practice of gaming. So of course, as soon as it starts to cut, I don't know, from social life or to create some issues, with school result or stuff like that, I think that's where you reach the limit, and that's like everything.
Yeah, because life balance with
good life balance. But on the other side, playing is a very good practice. I mentioned it's very much social. It also develops a lot of things, a lot of skills. Concerning the industry, of course, having gamers doesn't mean that you will have good developers. But what it means is that you have a lot of people who themselves are understanding very much, what is at stake when they play. And my observation is that in many countries, this is a vocational job. So this is a job that the young generation, they all dream of being a YouTube streamer, but they also all dream of being a game developer. And this is great because this is not an easy job. There is a lot of work to reach that. It requests a lot of skills actually, so technical and artistic skills. So for me, it's not bad to have to have a lot. On contrary, so it means that people will develop the games they would like to play themselves, and it means also that it will please a lot of other people. Yeah.
Perfect. I know, yeah, some gamers, especially the pro gamers, they have like a diet plan, they have an exercise schedule every day, and they have to sleep well and balance their life, which is also, this will also falls on all other professions, not only gamers. So everyone need to balance their life. Yes.
Bاسm, also professional players, they have playing hours, limited playing hours, cannot exceed that number.
True.
So the balance is with everything. Even being a professional player doesn't mean you play all the time.
Yes, of course.
It is limited.
That's like every sport, every athlete, and they really have the diet. They are very healthy more and more. We see that, and because you cannot be very good in the game if you're also not very good in your life. If you're not very good in also they have there is also mental health issues.
Mental health and body.
So that's very, very important. Yeah.
True. Yeah. Great. Okay, we have one question here. It says, what kind of support does the Federation give to eSport tournament operators startups?
Well, we deal with the private sector. First of all, we don't do our tournaments our own. We do it and with the private sector. And we go through a procurement process where we release an RFP, and we based on that we proceed with the winner company. But if you are a vendor, I highly recommend you contact the federation, the procurement department, and register, and we will reach out to you whenever we have a similar tender or whatever.
Nice, clear, great. We'll end with this question. We all know it's a startup for video games development in Saudi Arabia. What do we think we need to work on it more to have an excellent startup? So for a video game development startup, what do they need to focus, like success elements, to be a successful startup video game development?
I think you need to focus on the future, not on the past. So try to be ahead of the trend. So we know that the future is mobile, definitely. So that's clear. And by the way, the games are cross-platform, so it doesn't really matter anymore. We know that the trends have been changing quite a lot. We know also that the technology is very much involved. That we saw Pokemon Go or different things doing huge spike and then going down. So it's gonna come back. Everything which is around augmented reality, everything which is around new type of gameplay. And we know that this is also games as I saw that in one of the questions, are more and more as services, platforms. So in the past, when I started working in games, it was like a book or a movie. You had a beginning and end, you had a campaign, people developed a game and you bought a game, sometimes even at a shop to put in your console. You started the game and you finished the game. Now a game is just something which is an experience field, a service where many people just go. It's usually free, by the way. It's accessible all the time, not only in your home, in front of your TV, but everywhere with your phone. And that's a big change because the requirements for developing a games are completely different. Now it's a platform, it's a social media, it's a monetization type of things. Also, you have different ways to think about, because not only sell something to a retailer, you have to give opportunities for the players, to mechanics where they also will spend microtransactions and stuff like that. So this is very interesting industry. So I think this is really where to focus, not in the past, in the future.
Nice. Thank you so much. That will conclude our session tonight. I would like to thank you all. Thank you, David, for being with us. Sarah, thanks a lot for fitting this during your busy schedule. I know. Turkey, thanks again for supporting the whole community and the whole industry. At the end, I will tell the companies that now it is the perfect time to invest here in the region. For the gamers and the players, it's the perfect time to go pro. At the end of that, thank you so much for being here. And I would like just to mention that tomorrow we're going to have another session, which is the global online gaming market and the likely path post-COVID-19. Thank you so much for being here. Stay safe and see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you, Bاسم. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you, Bاسم. Thank you all.
Thank you all.